Hey, and what is up, Margwise? Little gremlins. It's been a while since I've done a video, mainly because, like a total dink, I spilled a drink all over my fucking laptop. And yeah, a lot of the buttons don't work properly at the minute. So, what can you do though? Hope everyone had a good, I know it was a long time ago, Christmas, New Year, all that lot. Hope you're keeping your resolutions. I thought it was pretty boring. Like most things suck as you get older. But, you know, the magic in life is gone. Turns out when you're legally allowed to do it, it's not fun anymore. Go figure. But anyway, enough with the pleasantries. I hope you enjoy these stories. This is 2 horror stories from Reddit. Volume 2, called Monsters Inc-arnet. Opinions, are monsters born or made? Just asking. And you'll have time to ponder that while I start story number 1. I used to be human. By Reddit user, FuneralBoy. Huh. I used to be human. I used to have a family, and a few friends even. I had passions and hobbies. I was going to college for a degree in psychology, and I was actually doing pretty well. But now, I'm not. It hurts to say this, but I have to admit it somewhere. I'm not human. My family, if you can call them that, is deranged, and I'm probably not going to last long. I have no friends. I'll never step foot outside again, let alone finish up school, and have a career. Oh god. I keep telling myself I've come to terms with what's happened to me, and what's going to happen to me, but just stating the obvious hurts so much. It all started with the doll shop. The most innocent place you can imagine, right? Well, maybe a little creepy if ball-jointed dolls aren't your thing. But nevertheless, not an evil place, but that fucking doll shop must be one of the most horrible places on earth. You can just trust me when I say that. You wouldn't guess it, just from looking at it. Hell, you wouldn't even guess it if you walked through it and browsed around. I know I didn't. The store was cute, maybe a little outdated, but figured what else. When I pushed the door, bell jingling as I pushed it forward, it just added even more fucking charm. And the shop had a lot of charm. The windows were even painted with intricate floral designs, and the shelves were organised to display the most beautiful dolls I'd ever seen. I nodded to the store manager as I walked past the counter, not noticing anything weird about him. He looked like a typical old man, kind of cute, in a grandfatherly way. I remember his large bifocal glasses, and the way they made bright green seemed so large and kind. I don't know why I was even in the shop that particular day. I drove home from work, and for some reason I turned onto an old back road that I'd never taken before. Taking the scenic route had always been something I'd enjoyed, but I wasn't planning on stopping the car. Then, I saw the shop. I was drawn in, God knows what reason. My sister's birthday was coming up, and we both always shared the love of porcelain dolls. I'd never owned a ball-jointed doll. The signs outside proclaimed the shop made them by hand. They were only one of a kind. I wasn't in a hurry, so there I was. The store wasn't large, but it wasn't tiny either. There were shelves lining each wall, and 2 or 3 aisles of shelves that divided the space within the room. On one wall, there were dolls. I couldn't help but admire them. The way their expression seemed so solemn and sincere. Their eyes so lifelike, and the sign had promise, each one entirely different from the next. The shelves in the aisles, however, didn't sport dolls. They were body parts, which I assumed was for avid doll euthanasia, to buy and make their own unique creation. I didn't spend much time looking there, after I saw the price tag on a doll's head that was, well, far out of my range. I was a part-time waitress, and considering a good week to be about $200. I made shit. I should have just left then, but when I realised how expensive everything was, I should have just turned around. But I just kept looking. Maybe the shop accepted credit cards or checks, and I could pay in a few installments, or pick up a few more hours of work. I really want my sister to have a good present after all. As I turned to the last wall, I noticed a doll on a display stand behind the counter where the old man stood. I gasped when I saw her. Besides the fact the doll was 3 feet tall, it was like looking in a mirror. The doll was the largest in the store, but I still stood a modest 5 feet. She looked like a scaled down version of myself, and I completely froze at the sight of her. Believe it or not, I wasn't frozen from fear, but with wonder.
You've caught the sight of Helen.
I jumped at the sound of the old man's voice. It was soft, but also sort of raspy. It sounded like he'd inhaled a lot of dust, and instead of coughing, just kept speaking.
She's my pride and joy, you know. Like a child to me. Isn't that right, Helen?
He turned and ran a careful hand over the doll's black hair. Immediately, I reached for my own hair, self-conscious, patting it, and tugging at the tangles. I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I was a bit unsettled. Did I compliment his work on his life-size doll? Was I supposed to mention the glaring fact that, hey, your doll could be my miniature twin that I didn't know?
Or maybe this fucker's been stalking me for years. Shit.
The store manager smiled at me and took his attention away from Helen.
Absolutely perfect, wouldn't you agree?
Numbly, I nodded my head to his words.
I didn't even realise it was pissing it down outside and my windows were open. That guy had me that tripped out about how he was being about his dolls.
My car windows were in clear view of the counter, so I mustered up a small smile and said something about how my windows needed winding up and I had to head home before I was late for dinner. The shop manager, who I assumed was also the owner, looked sadly at me.
Leaving? I rarely get many customers nowadays. It's just me and the dolls. And Helen.
I nodded again. It struck me a bit odd that he didn't seem to consider Helen a doll, but I assumed once again that he was just very attached to his odd mannequin. I smiled at him once more and took a step towards the door, when I stumbled and the lights went out. And I don't mean the power shut off or the lights burst, but all the lights, including the ones in the window, seemed to just be snuffed out in one quick moment. It actually even took me a moment to realise that I'd fallen.
Ouch. Fuck.
And I had fallen a good 6 feet down.
Into something dark. It looked about like a hole on the floor, but why? Where was it going?
And I started to panic. My eyes began to adjust and I noticed, from the light coming in from above my head, that I was in a small room. I tried to stand up, but the fall had managed to touch my ankle rather badly.
I cried out in shock and pain. Ah, shit. Before the tears started to flow.
I'd always been a crybaby, and something like this proved way too much for me to handle. I put my hands in my head and I wept. I don't know how long I cried.
Because I have no idea what a watch is or who the hell would have one, and I left my fucking phone in the car again, like a dick. One time I need it.
Probably only a matter of minutes, but to me, sitting alone in that dark room under the doll shop, it felt like I was in there crying for hours. Eventually, a little wooden door in the corner of the room opened up. The store manager walked in, looking even sadder than he had earlier. It was such a heartbreaking look that he gave me. And honestly, I don't even remember what happened after he entered the room. Maybe it was too traumatic or so painful that my memory simply blocked it out. I remember my psychology classes saying something about memories not even forming properly when something horrible has happened.
I don't know if that's the truth or I just made it up, but I can't remember shit anyway.
The next thing I do remember was the blinding light. Everything had been so dark for so long. When that light was reintroduced, my eyes, it burned. But I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't raise my hands to block the light out. I was completely paralysed. I wanted to cry, but no tears would come. There was absolutely nothing but the light. And eventually, that faded away too. My eyesight came back, and I immediately recognised the doll shop. In front of me stood the store manager, the sick, twisted old man who I mistakenly believed could be a grandfather. Behind him, there was an unfamiliar man.
He was so strange looking. When I first saw him, I remember thinking, that shade of lilac is an unnatural hair colour, but even his beard and eyebrows were tinted that colour. And his eyes, I couldn't quite pin it at first, it was strange. And then it hit me. His pupils were white, pure white. He looked like he had cataracts, but he could see me alright. He smiled at me, and that's when he revealed pointed teeth. He was just so damn creepy. Ugh. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Couldn't do anything, I was immobile. The old man turned away from the purple-haired stranger and looked at me, with a familiar sadness in his eyes. That's when he reached his hand out and cupped my cheek. And that's when I noticed.
He was much bigger than I was. I thought at first I was on my knees, but no. His hands, his face, they were just so large.
Are you back? Back in there, aren't you? Aren't you? I can see it in your eyes. Welcome back, Helen.
If I could have screamed, if I could have done anything at all, I would have. I wanted to bite his hands and his giant cheeks. The man with lilac hair smiled, his pointed teeth practically glinting.
Still, so damn creepy.
Be human, but it's clear when I look down at my arms and legs, that isn't true anymore.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Damn.
I wish I could cry, but I couldn't even blink. I don't know how this happened, or if it can be reversed.
All I know is this. Stay out of doll shops. Anyone heard of a fake moon? Come on, you must have done by now.
I'm pretty sure there's lots of fake because they look fucked up.
Like yellow, red and blue.
What, really nobody believes the moon is fake? Well, have I got a WikiLeaks for you?
That's right, you heard me. Move on over Pizzagate. Time for Lunargate. Go.
I've been impersonating the moon for the best part of a year now. Barely anybody noticed.
That's right, barely anyone bothers to look up. It was easy. I bet you'd like to know how I got away with it, wouldn't you?
Wow.
Put on my mega super awesome white gold plated suit.
Yeah. Get this. Generates its own fuel. That's how I managed to stay in the air.
Now this is a bit of a wink. It works by allowing tiny, self-contained nuclear explosions down at the rear of the back of the suit. You know, there's a special pipe as well that you insert and secure into the suit. This pipe is known as Mario's pipe, also known as Mario's chaos pipe. The reason we call it that is because it's capable of making a violent reaction between two atoms in such a small place. It's almost like chaos. Plus it's able to do other things, like deal with multiple other chemicals and security, make the whole thing safe. Lol. The leftover chemicals will then begin to break down and rot. It will start to reform chemicals such as deuterium, deuterium, tritiums, and a few other crazy things. Will being released and mixed inside in my nice moon shell. As the nuclear decay happens twice as fast down it, and out of all that destruction and decay, helium-4, a lovely little byproduct of nuclear fusion. I'm talking about helium-4, not the helium-3, that fucking byproduct waste shit that floats around blowing balloons up. I'm about fucking good stuff. You know this shit that makes war necessary. Even useful, some might say, to the point where they'd be like, oh, we might as well go to war. You know, getting a bit overcrowded up in this bitch. Perfect negotiation. Same as exploding underground, isn't it? Trap it.
By the time it's filtered,
And reaches the top of my nice cold suit, which, by the way, is cooled by, yeah, you guessed it, liquid diamond coated over the top. So many coats you wouldn't believe it me. Like, I actually feel cheap. I'm wearing so much white gold and diamonds right now. I actually feel cheap. And all this just to impersonate the moon? Yeah, you better believe it. Anyway, back to the high-tech, awesome suit. Was dubbed the Lunargate, aka moon suit. And thanks to those nice protective coats, it keeps this thing rather chilly and manages to cool things super fast. Things like gaseous helium trying to escape the suit hits the top, turns into the super fast, like a super fluid, conductive, solid. Super something. Anti-gravity, superhero, super theory, quantum theory, opposite to gravity. Superconductive, gets super cold, turns into super fluid, gets super high.
zero gravity.
Sorry, stuck in a super loop.
Hence floating in place. Then I just anchor myself to the ozone layer. As the world rotates, it looks like the moon's going by. And of course, I just play my phone all night.
That's what makes my beautiful glow.
I know, crazy, right? True story.
Wow, and you know it's true now because you just blatantly said true story and everybody knows. Say true story. It's a true story. Yeah, you get it.
Wow, some more convinced than any of the stories the government's come up with lately, wouldn't you say? Anyway, speaking of stories, back to it. Story number 2. The N.SR restaurant by Reddit user Weird Alab. My father owns an Indian restaurant, West Thornton, Bolton, for about 30 years now. Back in the day when it opened, the N.SR Indian restaurant was the only Indian restaurant in this specific area at the time. The area, West Thornton, Bolton in Manchester, is more like a village where everyone kind of knows each other and they follow old traditional English values. Mostly enjoying a nice little chat about the weather and a cup of tea. I must admit, West Thornton had grown so much bigger since then, and there are more Indian restaurants and takeaways within the area, but my father takes great pride in the fact that he's the first Indian restaurant / takeaway for West Thornton. When my father first came to West Thornton in Bolton, it was a much different place. The laws were different, and he has served a generation which are now old. There are some pictures of my father back in the old days, and he doesn't look much different. My uncle also used to work in the restaurant. Both my uncle and my father ran the restaurant with passion and the drive to succeed. Me and my sibling used to be taken to the restaurant, and it was always busy. I would watch my father and uncle run the restaurant as he had other workers that weren't part of our family, and back then the two chefs were different. I started working for my father around the age of 12, and he brought over many more of my cousins from Bangladesh to work in the restaurant. The two chefs were now my older cousins from Bangladesh, and they were quick learners and hard workers. He also brought over a cousin to be a waiter. So when I started working for my father, there was me, my father, my uncle, a cousin waiter, 2 cousin chefs, and 1 extra waiter who wasn't blood related, and another chef in the kitchen who also wasn't related. I remember this time clearly, and boy was it a crazy era. Every weekend my pockets were full of pound coins from all the tips that I'd made, as we were always busy from top to bottom. I was also kind of an introvert when I was younger, which meant I preferred to be quiet and alone. So with all the people in my father's restaurant, I did dizzy and anxious. I found it hard to adjust and mingle with the customers, and at the same time, for the very first time, I saw what adults were really like, because my only perception of adults were also in school. Even though I was an introvert, I did enjoy seeing people having fun, drinking beer and just socialising. As a restaurant, we were blessed with many great customers who were great people inside and out, good friends of my father and the restaurant itself. Bolton knew about my father and us. I have to admit though, I did find it tiring at that age, but as you see, 11 or 12, I didn't really understand the prospects of a restaurant at first. I mean, my father brought me into work at the restaurant because he wanted me to see what the world was really like, how he made a living, how he paid bills, and that he worked hard. As the years went by, I started becoming more comfortable and I started to socialise with the customers and smile more. I found the work easy now, and there was always something to do, so I was just used to it. I was joking around more, and I didn't mind working for my father as it gave me extra income and I was working for my pocket money. From 12 to 19 years of age, the business always made good money, and people always came in and ordered a takeaway. Then came the collapse of the economy. My father didn't expect a country like England to be affected, as there had been many collapses within the economy in the past. This time, the whole world was affected. All the businesses in West Thornton, Bolton were closing down, especially pubs, and generally my father's restaurant started to lose business. Never in my father's life had he expected something like this to happen. My father was worrying now about the business. People in West Thornton just didn't have the money to spend as much as they did in the past, and from a full house we went to no one inside the restaurant. Some aspects are probably my father's fault, like he could have updated the decor or advertised the restaurant online, as there was more people that looked for restaurants online or takeaways. But mainly it was the economy. You can almost feel the mood in the air. It was depressive and people had had enough and everything was looking bleak. The restaurant was dead, which I'd never experienced before. At the age of 21 and my father had only just bought the restaurant fully now, which he owned 100%. For this to happen, it was just wrong timing. Can't think of anything besides bad luck. With no one coming in, nothing to do, no real jobs, people just standing about, and my father knew sooner or later he was going to have to start laying people off. We just couldn't afford it anymore. One quite dead day in West Thornton, when N.SR was outside, my uncle heard something in the shed where we kept all the meat products. My uncle went into the shed and checked it to see what it was. He shouted for my father. My father ran into the shed, and then all the chefs proceeded to run in after him, and then I followed in too. What we saw that day would do so many things for us. It was a moth. A mothman. A little description of this mothman. Well, for one, he looked like a moth. He was about 5 foot, and he looked ragged, and was extremely skinny, and his wings were wrinkled badly. My father wanted to phone the cops, but the mothman begged us not to tell anyone. Then the mothman spoke.
This restaurant used to have a lot of positivity, but now only negativity. I can help with that, you know. I can make it busy.
What, you gonna bring a couple of your mates in to bump into the lights for a little bit?
That's it. Exactly it. I could feel it. It's not what it used to be, and I could make it what it used to be.
Now, my father believed in God and other superstitions. As he was a Muslim, he always has faith that things will change. He believes this Mothman was a sign from the heavens above. The Mothman wanted to be hidden somewhere within the restaurant, so we put him in the attic of the restaurant. Then the Mothman said that a week from now the restaurant will be filled with people, and my father was over the moon, and so was my uncle. It felt good to finally feel some positivity and see my father and uncle, as well as the other workers, smiling for once, as hope had been lifted. A week went by, and even I was surprised to see the restaurant full of people. It was like how it was when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age. Well, up until around 2021, when the economy hit us, like I said. My father was over the moon, the business was booming, and once again my pocket was full of pound coin tips. We all thought we'd escape the worst. Now, it was my job to check on the Mothman in the attic upstairs. And we also served people on the second floor, and I was surprised to hear one of the customers complaining about the noise that was being made in the attic. I checked on the Mothman, and he had grown now to 5'5". He was looking healthier. He came down from the attic when there was no more customers, and my father was pleased to see that he'd healed. As the weeks went by, they were really starting to bother the waiter, Tara and Chef Intayaz. They were complaining of the fluttering all the time, in their bellies, in their heads. It's really starting to concern, freak out those two, and to be fair, it was starting to concern us as well. They were sure it passed, but we were all starting to get worried for them. I remembered on a Saturday night, it was busy, and the Mothman was in the attic, and I like to do this thing where I just stand in the middle of the room and observe all the customers. I don't know. I like to observe and take in the atmosphere of there,
conversations, like, but not in a creepy way. Okay, maybe in a creepy way.
I was frightened though when I was concentrating in the moment to find that all of the customers were not speaking in the normal language. What I mean is they were all talking gibberish. I couldn't make it out before, and nor could anyone else hear this. You had to really concentrate and focus to really hear it. Then I noticed on each of their necks was either a moth or butterfly tattoo. Then KeReS, one of the long-time waiters, needed to go outside as the moths in his head kept bothering him. Same with N.SR, the chef. We gave them some to drink, and after a couple of minutes outside they felt much better.
But they could still hear them flapping in their head, and they could still feel the fluttering wrench in their guts every second more.
After the people left, I went upstairs to let out the moth from the attic, and he was looking stronger and happier. I told him about the problem with N.SR and KeReS, that they keep seeing it, dreaming and hearing moths constantly. The Mothman promised he didn't know anything about this. Then my cousin, the waiter, swoop, downstairs in the restaurant, started complaining of butterflies in his stomach. Said it helped with the feeling of the butterflies in his stomach, but they were still there, flying around.
Almost like that exciting part of a ride at a theme park, where it feels like you're about to burst if you don't scream because of the adrenaline and the feeling in your stomach is that intense. Imagine that, but it never ends. Maddening.
So 3 of our workers were suffering from something to do with moths or butterflies, and we have a Mothman in the attic. I wonder if they intersect somewhere. Nah. I went to my father and he reassured me everything would be okay. But as weeks went by, KeReS, N.SR and swoop conditions
Got worse and worse, to the point where they couldn't even work anymore. It was pointless.
Mothman was nearly 6 foot now and was looking more muscular than ever. I couldn't stop observing the customers' conversations, which were just gibberish, but no one else could hear it. Every customer that came in had a moth or butterfly tattoo. And then I remember something. In our attic, the Mothman himself had a butterfly tattoo on his neck.
Strange. What are the odds he would also have butterfly tattoos? Surely that's not just a coincidence.
One time after everybody had left,
Mothman really wanted to help out with some of the cleaning after the restaurant closed. We were just cleaning the cutlery when the Mothman accidentally slipped and he cut through his own hand. He grabbed the plaster and tried to patch it up as good as possible to stop the bleeding and make sure he was okay.
the next day, when the customers arrived in the restaurant, each of the customers had the same cut on their hands, similar to Mothman.
Wait, sorry, I misspoke. Not similar, exactly with the same as his.
After the business was finished, I went upstairs. I told him what I was thinking, which was the customers were not human, they were all him. He sighed and told me not to tell my father, and that everything will be fine, everyone is benefiting. The 3 workers though who were suffering for the Mothman's dreams and Mothman's stomach were becoming worse, and they didn't look so well. And as the months went by, N.SR and KeReS wanted to leave the restaurant because they couldn't take it anymore. My father and uncle were shocked and tried reasoning with them to come back. We lost 2 great workers that had been with us since the beginning. It was hard to adjust without the 2 of them, but we managed. Schwell, on the other hand, my cousin, waiter, started to show signs of mental problems. He was talking to himself and he couldn't take the fluttering in his stomach. Eventually, Schwell was mentally unfit to work. My father had to send him back to Bangladesh. And to this day, Schwell still talks about the flutterings in his stomach. The Mothman could be heard singing from the attic. He was so happy. I told my father everything that has happened to us with KeReS, Schwell and N.SR. It's all connected with the Mothman, but they never had a problem like this until my father then had to confess something to me, and even my uncle. They too started to dream about moths.
They just constantly thought of moths, and if they didn't think of them, they heard them, they saw them, they felt them.
Then after that discussion and thinking, my father wanted to close the link between us and that Mothman. My father ran upstairs and opened the attic door, with me, my uncle and my 2 cousin chefs behind him.
And he said to the Mothman,
Get out. We don't want your help anymore. Just leave.
Mothman warned.
You'll lose customers over this, you know. Business will go down. I don't care. I want you out. Just leave, please.
My father didn't care anymore, as health was more important. As weeks went by, our restaurant became dead, and my father and uncle were doing much better. We checked upon KeReS and N.SR, and they were fine, but they didn't want to work for us anymore. The Mothman gradually became smaller, and was looking much weaker now. And to be honest, I preferred it that way.
He Still up there, you know. You can hear him flapping around or talking and walking around. Just waiting up there like some punk ass moth waiting to jump and viciously attack some old biddy. Like those fucking gang banging moths these days. We've all seen them. Harassing in those light bulbs in the street corners, but nobody gets involved. Maniacs. But you want to check it out for yourself.
And the restaurant addresses 45 and 47 Market Street, West Thornton, Bolton, BL5 3AG, obviously England. Also I'll put it on the screen and link it in the description. Considering Mothmen are meant to actually be real and they actually seem like a little bit of an ass, I will probably think twice about the moths I hang around with in future, you know. Don't just bum a spliff off one in an alley, you can end up dead. Dear me, what a little scumbag moth, right? Wow, that's this video coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed it, as I enjoyed making it. Again, sorry it took longer to get out. Stupid drink on a laptop. I mean, stupid me for pouring my drink on my laptop by accident. That sums me up. Glass just empty, because, you know, I probably fucking spilt it. But anyway, and now I just want to thank all those awesome people that helped. Thank you to them sick people down at Reddit, the providers of the stories as always, and you lot for listening and do what you do. Thank you to all the recent subscribers and obviously all the ones I had originally. You guys are awesome, but then I think you know that. What else me out? Bye bye now. Peace. / marble by toast. And always remember, if trouble comes your way, just try to make yourself look big. Hee hee.